Where's his residence?
Here.
In Jonesboro.
Right. How the hell he don't live there but he stay there? That's the stupidest something.
The officers want to hear both sides, so they call DeMonte.
But he don't stay there.
And immediately.
Live here. And they don't stay there.
DeMonte, you want to go ahead and talk to us what's going on? He's over here, but we're going to speak to you because we don't know what's going on.
He comes out holding the baby, and right away, there's this back and forth about who actually lives there, who belongs there. Quanisha says her name is on the lease. DeMonte claims he lives there too. But then DeMonte starts talking, and oh my God, the picture he paints is completely different.
She got up to the sheets. She disappeared for 3 hours. Like, man, I'm at home watching my kids and my kids. She disappeared for 3 hours.
She said anything, did you say anything that will cause her at all?
What would you do if your girl go to work and they disappeared for 3 hours? You got all my kids and everything. I'm a slap. I slap.
I believe that's somebody who makes the shit be
And that's when things
He can jump ass home.
He starts making accusations that are just brutal.
Well, but I don't be long. I'm not gonna be good.
That's a threat right now, y'all. Y'all heard that?
I'm still watching your kids. You would hold up the neck.
You don't talk to them? Go ahead. You come to here now.
Grown ass man.
I got it. When you say snap,
I snapped. I told him, it's not playing. I'm like a goofy. I'm here watching the kids. I'm leave somewhere else with another kid. You got all their seats. Put all the
but if you didn't go no far, no,
She's scared. She's scared. She's not strong.
That's what she did 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I am.
She hands on me too a couple times.
No, I had blue eye.
Well, you get your car, the line ain't fine, she will get mad because I'm there.
The disrespect, the anger, it's all coming out now in front of the police officers. Quanisha fires back, telling him,
You don't live here, you don't pay no bills for me now.
You tried to stab me last night.
Trash bag for clothes they got from the county jail.
Dude, I was screaming out loud.
I do not know if she should college. Cause I'm gonna have to deal with it. No, that's
Shut your fucking mouth.
Somebody go in the household.
No.
the officers are watching this toxic relationship unfold right before their eyes. These two people are deliberately pushing each other's buttons, saying the most hurtful things they can think of. And in the
I heard them think she's pregnant though.
poor
Other than goddamn. If you listen, I heard.
it's so much worse.
One of
Because
them.
what happens next
Say you want me to
shows
strip
just
for
how
long.
toxic this relationship really was. The argument between Quanisha and DeMonte starts spiraling completely out of control. She's taunting him about being broke,
See?
about not even being the baby's real father.
You ain't not a risk, so therefore it's not you. It's mine.
I know they do it.
It is. I do. I'm going to.
Out.
And it's 2015.
And then, and this part just breaks my heart, they start fighting over the baby. This innocent 2-month-old is being used as a weapon in their argument.
What's up? Let's get my name on all night. I'm not trying to make you know all night. Don't come out your age.
We not
We
baby though, but she's gonna get college. I'm gonna get she's not. And
She said little nigga name on the birth certificate. He ain't got that on the birth certificate.
We're doing that part.
That's what females do.
The officers are watching
But
this
she ain't got the
unfold.
birth certificate
You
yet
can
though.
tell they're getting frustrated.
Cause she ain't got
The situation is escalating, and these two are just.
When them folks say get this goddamn birth certificate on the jail folks, get there, get this baby, why you in jail for life? Come to kill you, her, and everybody on the I'm gonna kill everybody on the facility. Except the baby. Baby the only one gonna live. Everybody else gonna die. So y'all can leave.
Same amount of time she had. She both were together.
Me and that baby would live. Have everybody would die.
She got mad. She got people at night. She couldn't keep up with her lives. And she was scared to come home. And you smart think. She didn't want to come home, so she used the police.
We don't live here. There's nothing here. We don't live. This is what I'm weird. Let it go. Let it go. This is what I'm talking. Yeah, he's not about this book. She a lot. She can lie. You said you was saying for all. So technically, when I told you, you said, hey, you got stop resting here in the rest. You allowed me.
I forgot what you went 3 hours.
I would have liked it.
No, they all changed that.
We are.
Oh, change that.
We have
With their mom.
with their mom. And she'll talk to them. We're not there to y'all over at my phone. I'm fine. I just hear them. I see my shit every day. I see my shit. You see her making this stuff.
What, you look at?
No.
You got mad because you disagree?
What she is provoking him, man.
Hey, stop. To that point, you're attacking me. Stop.
He is attacking
Stop.
us.
You don't listen to nothing being said. You're not listening to nothing being said. You told me you just saying here to
He is saying miracles in the others, yes. We got to have him in jail. And
You think that is like,
okay,
yes,
Because they talking about your son from the run up in the cab county jail. I don't even care no more. I said, you can hang on, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Better get that shit together.
State is now promising something big for 2025, a new regulated program that guarantees your family will be paid out. It's called the 2000.
Punisher makes a statement that should have been a huge red flag. She looks directly at the officers and says,
He's telling me my answer tonight, so when I shoot him, with self-defense, then what?
Like this said, it should have been a red flag right now.
Residency, because he's sitting here putting his hand on me for the second time, then what? I'm gonna kill him. You hear this, right? You heard what he just said? I'm gonna ask you tonight. So when I shoot him, and I can call the cops and do that now,
Make sure you can articulate
I
what's
can't.
going on.
I'm sure.
You better really be able to articulate that.
I can't. This is my household. Cause he had no person.
I'm not holding you down.
Make sure you can articulate when it comes to
I'm gonna end up in the process of leaving the shop.
despite all of this, despite the threats, despite the history of violence, despite Punisher literally telling them she might have to shoot him in self-defense, the officers decide to leave. They just left. They saw what they considered to be a quarreling couple who needed to cool off. And
Man, they
walked
could
away
stop
from
that
the
shit,
situation.
man.
But think about this from Punisher's perspective. She called the police 3 times. She disarmed herself when they asked. She explained the facts, the previous assault, her fears, and they still left her alone with someone she was terrified of. What happened in the next 4 minutes will become one of the most contested parts of this entire case.
Oh, we gotta talk about
According
this.
to what came out later, the argument continued inside the house. But here's where the stories completely diverge. And honestly, it's hard to know what really happened because there were no witnesses except for the children.
You know, milk in them
The
morning,
official
powder milk.
version says that Punisher went to her car and
Powder milk
retrieved
in
2 weapons,
Powder
a
milk.
metal tire iron and her gun. Then she came back inside and confronted DeMonte upstairs. The tire iron becomes crucial here because it suggests this wasn't a simple self-defense shooting. But Punisher's version, she said she only got those weapons after the situation escalated further.
Oh! They should know that was self-defense, Mom. That was one shot, though. That's self-defense. You think she shot him multiple times?
Paramedics rushed him to Emory Hillendale Medical Center, but despite their efforts, he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. When the officers returned to the scene, they found Grisha and immediately placed her in handcuffs. The same woman who had called them for protection was now being led to the back of the police van, facing the most serious charges of manslaughter and felony murder.
Come on, man, now.
She was looking at life and realized
Look at it.
as they taken her
This squad call.
Put that girl in jail, man. She won them folks, man. That man swing on me. When y'all gone, man, I'm giving it to you.
live and joking.
This is ex-girlfriend right here.
But then she revealed something crucial.
No, she just said, right?
DeMonte had asked her to order him an Uber from Cornish's house that night.
Okay.
Phone records confirmed that.
He was leaving anyway.
Yeah, he was leaving.
He gonna beat her ass.
There's nobody to have now. And
But then the defense dropped a bombshell. This man had an extensive criminal record for stalking and probation violation.
That girl was saying this threat in front of police and they got her gun. They got her gun before they gave it back.
But the most heartbreaking
I will kill him tonight.
And this is where things get really complicated. In her initial statement right after the shooting, she told forensic interviewers that she saw her mother hit DeMonte with a pole before shooting him. But months later at trial, her story had completely changed.
She asked you to call 911.
What I'm saying is, it's the police fault, bro. It's the police fault, bro. Why get her another weapon back when she said she gonna kill you, man? It ain't her fault, bro.
Why did you call
That's just what they gonna do.
Lock her up.
Because he was dead at home.
And was she scared that he was going to hit her?
Had no intention, personal knowledge. He asked her mother's
Did she tell you why she wanted you to call 911?
what she saw.
Could you see from where you were downstairs? Could you see everything that was happening upstairs?
Yeah, everything.
Okay. Could you see your mom?
For us thinking.
Could you see Dolo?
Yes.
And that Dolo. Same thing
And
with
you said that you
my
heard a gunshot?
Yes.
Did you actually see? You see your mom pulling her?
I didn't see nothing.
Not if you got your criminal record and it was really him.
When
I know.
her original
What's the big hole? Man, you still like, what if the police outside will listen to you? Shit, you know, you know, bro. We go to jail for shit like that. I don't know. I don't know the nigga.
My right hand is gonna be
Did you say your mom and Dolo went upstairs and mommy hit him with a pole? And your parents, did you say that? Did you say mommy hit him with a pole?
Thankfully, I'm thankful
And did you ever tell the police? Do you remember telling the police that mommy hit Dolo? Yes. You told them that? Okay. Why did you tell them that?
Countless hours going to determine.
Been coached to change her story. A 7-year-old. Can you imagine the pressure this little girl was under?
For protection. She was
She was up in the
against
best
a
police officer.
police officers who
When the story, they took her gun, and she told them that you could kill him, you could get him the gun, all the gun back.
and then not only that,
Y'all give me the gun back, believe me, he'll be back, I'm killing him, man.
things like, that's not even your baby.
It's not even your kid. You're not
She's
gonna,
warning you.
I'm gonna disappear again for 3 hours. When are you gonna do that?
Only people that scared for their life is some shit like that,
different
but
versions of events battled it out.
I tell you that nigga ain't scared for a mother life. She probably beating the shit out of that girl. He probably be beating the
So
white
she
shit out of that.
deliberately retrieved both weapons because she was angry about demanding questioning her parenting and lifestyle.
They've been probably looking like Crocodile Bull after the Rocky
They
Six.
had evidence. The jury reached their verdict. They acquitted Cronisher of malice murder, which means they didn't believe she planned to kill him, but they found her guilty of voluntary manslaughter and the remaining charges. Now here, she gave Cronisher a structured 20-year term. 5 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of home confinement, and then 10 years of probation. But the most shocking part? Judge Morris granted Cronisher an appeal bond, something that rarely happens in manslaughter with fatal confrontation. So here we are today, and honestly, I'm still torn about this case. Did Cronisher do the right thing? I mean, she called police 3 times. She disarmed herself when asked. She warned them about the threats. She did everything we tell domestic violence victims to do. But could this have turned out differently? Absolutely. If the police hadn't left that scene, if they had taken her warning seriously, if they had arrested DeMonte for the threats he made right in front of them, if they hadn't asked her to disarm herself, this case challenges everything we think we know about self-defense and domestic violence. Because at the end of the day, a woman followed all the rules.
Yeah, so did, bro. She gave them the info about guns. She was honest with them. She was still scared at the same time and told them if you got them leave without doing anything, leave that man here, I will kill this man and give my gun back.
Because honestly,
I'm listening to this lady.
all these details, I keep asking.
If I was the officer, I would have most
what I
definitely
have done in her situation.
detained her and him until I got
This
that
case
situation
exposes some serious
resolved.
flaws
Somebody is not.
violence calls.
Please, lady officer, somebody other officer, hold this baby.
A
message has been received.
Warning signs and encourage you to seek help or offer support before it's too late.
Do y'all know anybody that comes in that girl right now? Because both are going to jail for night.
They at home. Y'all all like
Bro, I don't know what to do. Oh, y'all going to jail. Officer told me that. He said, bro, if I feel like I don't know what to do, it's something I was confused. That's a game. She said she don't kill your man. Then he saying stupid shit like you ain't gonna be able to, you ain't gonna be stripping too long. He didn't say he gonna kill you, good man. So that means you're scared for life. I read all that shit. Everybody playing, bro. Somebody grab the baby. Y'all sit y'all ass right here on the curb right here. Curb right here. Real shit. If you going to jail tonight, both of you, or one of you motherfuckers gotta leave their house, and one of you motherfuckers gonna hold their baby. Make your mind up right now. Send both of y'all out of jail.
November 26, 27, 2000.
We stop pride aside and go ahead and make a
Do
decision.
you remember the night, November 26, 2000?
I wanna lock both your ass up.
Tell us what happened that night.
I was home studying for my RPT certificate. I get a phone call from my girlfriend on a three-way FaceTime call. Inviting me to go out for one of their birthdays. I agreed to go out. I ended up very good dressed to go outside. During our conversation, was getting dressed, whatever. During our conversation, I let DeMonte know where I was going. That was it.
And then I'll be an asshole cop. You know, like, I ain't got nowhere to go. I got somewhere to you go.
Let's go back.
You ain't going to jail for a night.
What time it is?
Well, after that motherfucker, you can find where else you going. I got calls, motherfucker. I got calls. So I'm not going to jail, what? I'm damn not going to get nowhere to go. You ain't going to jail tonight. You ain't going to do that. So you ain't got nowhere to go. I'm not going to stay out there on the street. sleep like that, bro.
Was it your voice at that point?
She was.
Somebody need arrested.
Was she sleeping?
I'm gonna lock your ass up. You need somewhere to go.
You get the call.
Help me, help you.
At night, you get dressed, you let the Monte.
Or help, or let me help you, help me. You don't give a damn how the hell you put it. Keep swapping those spoons in my nigga. Let me have it.
Sorry. We're there.
I wish Pop stopped my nigga. Yeah, I wish they stopped my nigga. They don't give a damn
What's
no
the name of the place you were?
They used to get bullied on and shit. Get whipped and get swirlies and the toilet. That's why they can't police officers. Their parents go and play go buy them their favorite video game on their birthday. Shit like that.
We stayed
Go ahead. You stand in. 30. You stand in. What you riding through?
Let's go back. About what time is this week you communicate with the Monte?
I
may come back.
I'll be up. I'll be up.
What happens after?
Y'all even think about
okay, because we had been fighting with my girlfriends and they were leaving, and I was audition.
And what did you do next?
I should go next because I didn't know.
Now, tell us what was your relationship to the Monte at this time?
He was my big father.
And was he living with you?
He was just being here. He had me.
Tell me what you mean by staying.
So,
yeah, I got it. Hey! He wanted to die?
She said he wanted to dad. But he the dad, but she said he ain't the dad.
If you know you might get a big cash payout, if you were in a car accident up to 1 year ago, even if you weren't driving, just click the
Listen, I understand that she provoked him though, bro. But he ain't got no reason to put his hands on her to shoot her. She shot him because he put his hands on her.
You can get a check just like this one.
Maybe
Tens of dollars of people that receive a 5 figure or even a 6-figure check without going to court, paying big legal fees, or dealing with insurance companies or greedy attorneys, even if you were a pedestrian, rideshare user, cyclist, or a motorcyclist. You can get the justice you deserve. Look at Mia, for example. She had no idea the case was worth anything. But after she came to car accident counsel, she got over $160,000 from an accident that happened a little less than a year ago. No matter what you thought before, you can get what you're owed and can be shocked to see how much more can be than you expected. We can't change the past, but we can help you get a good cash settlement for this work, hospital bills, and property damage. Here's what happens after you answer the 5 simple questions. In a few minutes, a top injury specialist will tell you if your accident qualifies for major compensation. After that, you just tell them about your case and wait for a check. You can get in as little as 30 days. Your specialists will do everything to help because they don't get paid unless you do. To see if your accident qualifies for a major cash settlement, just go and answer 5 simple questions. Some people feel bad about holding someone accountable and don't want to cause trouble or look like they're scamming the system. Don't let that be you. You deserve compensation. It's your right. Click the link below, answer a few questions about your case, and if you
one of these days I'm glad my lyrics is out and these up to understand. So, he was incarcerated in August. I got a phone call back in August of his incarceration. Help him get out or whatever. And he gets out late September. His representation were to go did the house name station prior to being incarcerated. He benefited
What happened for you?
Tripping to say. I had the baby, I did to come, to be with the baby instead since he had high school.
And while you're out that particular night, do you have anything to drink?
I did.
What did you shoot?
Casamigos,
How much?
probably like 2 or 3 shots.
And was that the first place or the second?
That's a difference.
And did you have anything to drink at the second location?
I did.
So after you let him know the second location, share your tell me your property location, where do you go next?
We go to the coffee.
Is that the spot you like?
No, I would say
And
Okay, now
Diamond.
yeah, we go good. My phone dies up there. My phone dies up here.
why do you have two phones?
Because I want to go down.
Hey,
And there's one phone business and one
look
phone
at this fight on my
personal.
left. Cocaine didn't
So you left your business phone in your car to your personal phone inside.
Yes.
While you're in there, your phone died.
Yeah, they fight on my left.
Remember around what time you realized that phone had died?
They got some water in their bowl, and put some water in their bowl.
You realize your phone is dead and you leave.
They keep about some damn water. When you think you drink water, y'all got damn water. I don't know what's wrong with you and you. That's in the way of someone. Get about some water. Man, you put some water in there.
So we think that they bladder bigger than that bowl, no fucking.
Your
Give it up to this bowl. No, it ain't.
bladder's like this. Your bladder's like this.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. My bladder is like this. Their bladder is like this.
But we get that kind of water and juice and milk and shit you be drinking.
They shit not right. So they good. They eat ice cube, mom.
But put a ice cream in there. Cause they thirsty.
All right.
And it's hot in here.
Yeah, all right. I don't see none of them have some. None of them have some.
Then I take an obligation, and let them know everything's okay, Michelle.
What?
Seriously, it's you on the phone, your aunt Michelle Newell, your aunt Andrea Gonzalez, and then Michelle asks, "Good morning, case we go to the phone."
Yes.
And what happens next?
Then I take this in the phone.
Hey, get down here and lick in this table because she's thirsty. You $50 fucking wall.
Tripping.
He just says,
Hey, it's $7 in here.
hey,
And all of them don't want that water. All they need, they all be on that.
yes,
And
And then I make
this
some
happened
water.
all for you.
yes.
And then he hangs up. Tell us what happens next.
Diamond's birthday.
I know you just said it. I wear my business phone and I need to go on my
And what happens
I'm enrolled to my home that I'm
Hey, I just went out there behind them dogs.
I see the text message.
Diamond, go to that door.
I just have to log and text messages because being when I get home, I tell them next time I'm with him. And then I'm scared to go home and get after he stopped me.
Zaxby's just dropped new lemon pepper. So you can get that 69 and crack like a you love on your chicken.
Oh, that shit out.
Lemon pepper.
They don't go to the 10 o'clock. I want you to take my 10 o'clock.
Now, was there any reason why you took these threats seriously?
Yes, because to me, all nerves is low key follow through with his threats. February.
Alright. We say follow through with these threats, what do you mean?
Most weeks ago, prior to the 26th, I was working at the T's restaurant that booked at the hour and he threatened to
Stop. They don't pay for it. You on YouTube.
when I came home,
They laugh like a
he was
motherfucker.
coming to
Everybody. Don't be laughing at me. Y'all laughing at. Yeah, they laughing. What's so funny, chat? That shit funny. That shit funny, chat. What you say keep getting on my ass? They like that shit too. I'm not doing it on purpose. She really getting on my ass. She be getting on my ass for real. It's not a joke, folks. Mom get on my ass for real. Mom get on my ass for real. Now I'm gonna make some chicken, man. I'm hungry as fuck, nigga.
Miss Johnson, after that incident, Zoe slammed you on your face, is over you, shaking you, and why did you stop? And did you call police?
No, she ain't calling no motherfucking police. She like a stupid ass. Let the man beat her ass. She ain't even get the ass. She got her ass beat real fast. Oh, that's a real bone. Real bone. Eat animals in this bitch. Animals. That crab nigga eat animals in this bitch. Eat animals in this bitch. Nah, for real, bro. I'm gonna keep talking high here. Oh man, I'm hungry at the same time. Got some chicken in the thing, you know. Cooking right up with chicken. What the hell you got going though? I've been bored. I've been going through some things. And I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to laugh. I'm trying to laugh and damn this, man. I've been going through some things. Sadly, man. I'm alright, but I've been going through some things. But I'm alright though. Nah, for real. I've been going through some things, but I'm alright though, man. I've been going through some things, but I'm alright though. Yeah. She getting better, man. She's gonna get stronger, man. You know what I mean? Good prayer and you know what I mean? I'm trying, y'all. I mean, I'm trying, man. Man, what's so crazy though, y'all? Like, I'm on the wait to share this. You know what I mean? This with y'all, but what's so crazy though? I have dreams and fears of passing away on me like this. I'm like, I know, and I had it for a long time now. So shit like that, like. Really just be hurting me though, shit like that. I can't do nothing but pray and take action on making sure she eat healthy. You know what I mean? And making sure she move around properly. That's all I can do. I can't do nothing else. You know what I mean? That's all I can do. Make sure she go to a doctor.
Squirmy and
She
just
hurt,
as hungry
man.
as you. Well, that's a big, crowded, hungry family. But don't get too.
Sure.
Absolutely deadly. Jamaican stories were some of the most fascinating dinosaurs to ever.
I'm gonna make some chicken.
Better by the name of raptors. These were feathered creatures with curved claws, sharp teeth, and razor-sharp instincts. Over the years, they've become pop culture legends thanks in large part to movies like Jurassic Park. Velociraptor stole the spotlight there, but in real life, its relatives were just as amazing, and in some cases, even more so. The name Dromaeosauridae actually means running lizards, which is pretty fitting. They were a family of bird-like meat-eating dinosaurs that really hit their stride during the Cretaceous period. Some were no bigger than a crow, while others, like Utahraptor, were about the size of a wolf. They were completely feathered and had these long, stiff tails that worked kind of like balancing poles, helping them stay steady while they dashed after prey. And they weren't just quick, they were clever. Some scientists even think a few species might have hunted together, though that's still up for debate. What's even more impressive is how widespread they were. Fossils have turned up all over the world, from North America and Asia to Europe, Africa, and possibly even Australia. Most of the solid fossil evidence comes from the Cretaceous, but a few teeth hint that they might have been around as far back as the Jurassic. In this video, we're going to explore 16 amazing members of this wild and diverse group. From the famous giants you've heard of to the oddballs you probably haven't. Get ready to rethink everything you thought you knew about raptors.
I'm just ready for this damn chicken get done, man.
The
Damn.
agility of a parkour athlete, the claws of Wolverine, and the pack instincts of wolves, you get something pretty terrifying. And millions of years before comic books or clawed mutants ever existed, nature had already come up with the real deal, Deinonychus. No, not Velociraptor, Deinonychus, the actual dinosaur that inspired the raptors in Jurassic Park. And unlike its Hollywood cousin, this predator was real, fast, smart, and deadly. Deinonychus lived during the early Cretaceous period, roaming what is now North America around 115 to 108 million years ago. Think forests, floodplains, and an enormous inland sea that split the continent in half. It wasn't the most relaxing place to live, but for a predator like Deinonychus, it was a buffet. Now, zooming out for a second, before all this, the continents were squished together into one supercontinent called Pangaea. As it slowly broke apart into Gondwana and Laurasia, dinosaurs spread across the globe. The continental shuffle gave rise to all kinds of weird and wonderful species, including the one we're talking about today. So, where does Deinonychus sit on the dinosaur family tree? It belongs to the theropods. Those are the two-legged, mostly meat-eating dinosaurs, like Allosaurus and T-Rex. But Deinonychus was more like a member of an elite squad called Dromaeosauridae, nicknamed raptors. These guys had serious bird vibes, lightweight bones, long arms, and killer claws. Paleontologists used two systems to figure out where dinosaurs fit in the Linnaean taxonomy, which groups animals by physical traits, and cladistics, which groups them based on shared ancestry. Using both, Deinonychus ends up in a group called the Coelurosaurs, the same club that eventually gave rise to birds. And in 2017, some paleontologists even proposed reorganizing the dino family tree entirely, putting Deinonychus and Triceratops in the same larger group, Ornithoscelida. Think of it as updating the cast list of Earth's biggest, longest-running survival show. Deinonychus was around 3 meters or 9.8 feet long, about the size of a motorcycle, and weighed close to 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. It ran on 2 powerful legs and had a tail stiffened with tendons to keep its balance. Kind of like a natural tightrope walker. But the real showstopper, that curved claw on each foot. Picture a meat hook, about 12 centimeters or 4.7 inches long. Deinonychus could hold that claw off the ground and then slam it down with force, probably using it to slash at prey. It's basically the original Wolverine claw, just one per foot and all natural. Its hands weren't bad either. 3 fingers with sharp claws, perfect for grabbing onto struggling prey. Add to that a narrow skull, forward-facing eyes for depth perception, and rows of sharp, serrated teeth. You've got yourself a prehistoric assassin. Oh, and it probably had feathers. Not big flight feathers like birds, but simple ones for insulation. So yeah, Wolverine, but with a floppy coat. Deinonychus had one of the highest brain-to-body ratios of any non-avian dinosaur. Paleontologist James Hopkins happens to be the only place on Earth where scientists have uncovered the remains of an extraordinary predator about the size of a bear. Meet Utahraptor, a carnivorous dinosaur with massive razor-sharp claws that roamed the region around 130. Velociraptors were clever, fast, and terrifying. Now imagine one twice the size, with legs like pistons, claws like meat hooks, and the stealth of a jungle cat. That's Utahraptor. It's basically the prehistoric version of a lion crossed with Freddy Krueger. Back 30 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous period. Rolling in the mud. Tide can handle it. Skating height. Tide can handle it. Stains are certain. So is the power of time. With 50% more cleaning power. It's got to be. Galactus asks too high a price.
What does he want?
What did he ask? He said, give us your child.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get up high quality that's guaranteed fresh and down low prices on over 1,000 items. With quality and savings that add up, Kroger shoppers never compromise. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Fossils from this beast were first described in 1993 by paleontologist James Kirkland and his team. Since then, more bones, including skull fragments and juvenile remains, have given us a clear picture of now, there's just one recognized species, Utahraptor ostromesi. It holds the heavyweight title in the Dromaeosaur family, reaching 6 to 7 meters long, about 20 to 25 feet, and tipping the scales at up to 500 kilograms, at 1,100 pounds. Unlike its faster, leaner cousins, Utahraptor was built for power, not speed. It had a broad, boxy skull full of serrated teeth and those iconic curved claws.
That's a big ass goddamn animal.
In the past few billion years, Earth has been pummeled by asteroids, crashed into other planets, and frozen over several times. Not to mention being ruled by all kinds of crazy life forms. Sometimes it's a wonder to start way back at the very beginning. Some 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system began to emerge out of a dense cloud of interstellar gas and dust. This cloud collapsed into a swirling disk of matter that got hotter and hotter and hotter until hydrogen fused into helium. And just like that, our sun was born. And baby Earth was on its way too. After the birth of our star, all the matter on the farthest ends of the spinning disk began to clump together. These clumps would be the seedlings for the planets and moons in our solar system. As they accumulated more matter, they grew bigger and more spherical. The clumps in the cooler regions of the solar system were mostly made of ice, liquids, and gases. Closer to the sun, all the rocky material formed the inner planets like Mars and Earth. This young Earth was incredibly active, volcanically speaking. It spewed out atmosphere on our an epic collision through chunks of matter all around Earth's orbit. And then gravity bound them together into what we know now as the moon. On this hot, early Earth, there were no oceans. All water existed as gas. But 3.8 billion years ago, our planet cooled enough for water to condensate and become liquid. The very first primitive ocean covered this young Earth and turned it into a water world. H2O is an essential ingredient for creating living things. So, with all that water, life appeared on Earth about 3.7 billion years ago. These earliest forms of life were microscopic organisms, but it was nearly a billion years after that that some of these organisms changed the course of the world. Earth didn't stay as a water world very long. Soon, the very first continents emerged from the ancient ocean. Scientists call them cratons. As more and more land rose from the ocean, the very first supercontinent appeared on the planet. Valbara wasn't exactly a supercontinent. It was pretty small. Scientists think it was smaller than the continent of Australia. Around 2.4 billion years ago, cyanobacteria evolved to become our planet's first photosynthesizers. Finally, we had some oxygen producers to make Earth's atmosphere. With all this new oxygen, Earth's atmosphere had much lower levels of carbon dioxide, and that made the planet icy cold. Much of our young world froze over as Earth saw its first ice age. Now, as Earth's atmosphere was changing, the continents were moving too. They broke up and reassembled into the next supercontinent, Rodinia. Rodinia was a real supercontinent. It may have been the largest supercontinent to ever cover the planet. And life? Well, life finally became more complex. But then something happened. Rodinia broke apart and a new supercontinent assembled. This one was called Pannotia. Then, between about 540 and 485 million years ago, there was an explosion of new life. This time was called the Cambrian explosion, and the animals that evolved during this period had hard body parts, like shells or spines. The most famous of all were the alien-looking trilobites. Around 440 million years ago, the climate suddenly shifted and the temperature of the ocean changed dramatically. Earth saw its first mass extinction event. This was the Ordovician Silurian extinction, and a majority of the life that had been spreading around the planet vanished. Many of these life forms laid the foundation. The first trees arose from Earth's soil. And the first animals made their way to land, too. All species on Earth. But this mass extinction helped pave the way for the next wave of animals to evolve. 240 to the land. If you were there, you'd have witnessed the gigantic sauropod Argentinosaurus, the largest land animal ever. Or you might have been chased by one of the Earth's greatest apex predators, the T-Rex. And you'd also witness Pangea breaking up and forming the continents we know today. Okay, you may already know where this is headed. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into our planet, right where Mexico sits now. It coughed up so much debris into the atmosphere that it blocked out the sun. This led to devastating climate changes that caused the dinosaurs to die out. In the next wave of emerging animals, mammals became more common. Around 6 million years ago, the earliest known humans started walking this world. This species began food and provide.
I get it when I come up there, Mom.
Their brains continued to evolve. Now
I get it when I come up there.
these humans learned to interact with
I gotta check on the
the
food.
surrounding world in whole new
Damn.
ways. Then, between 40,000 to 15,000 years ago, all other human species besides Homo sapiens went extinct. 10,000 years ago, Earth saw its earliest farmers. These previously nomadic humans stopped wandering the planet and finally put down their roots. Jumping way forward to about 250 years ago, the Industrial Revolution took place. We went through major technological, socioeconomic, and cultural transformations. Rural-based farm societies became more industrialized urban ones. Our human population continued to grow. By 1804, we reached 1 billion. By 1927, we'd hit 2 billion. And since the 1960s, the global population has risen fast.
The fuck?
Americans, we can do anything we want, except one thing. We just can't stop being American.
Continued to grow. By 1804, we reached 1 billion. By 1927, we'd hit 2 billion. And since the 1960s, the global population has risen fast.
Is there any adult-educated person on Earth who doesn't know about dinosaurs? The first thought would be, there is hardly anyone who has never heard about them. Indeed, we learn about them as children, when we barely start speaking. Cartoons, toys, drawings, and then movies, videos, articles, even ordinary ads. The ancient lizards are often shown in the most surprising places. As a result, the average city dweller knows more about dinosaurs than about a bird on a branch outside their window. Are there many who know what was before the million years? Today, you're going to discover what ancient fish had a bite force twice stronger than a modern polar bear. What ancient bird had a wingspan almost as large as an F-16 fighter jet? What monster had the body of a bull and the head of a boar? And many more interesting things. Ancient animals scarier than dinosaurs. Algorithms to select interesting content and make it more accessible. According to one of the most compelling hypotheses, the first life on our planet appeared in the ocean. So we will start with the dwellers of the ancient ocean. The hero of the first story is Dunkleosteus, a predator that reigned in the depths of the Devonian seas 100 million years before the dinosaurs. The genus Dunkleostidae includes several species. We can talk not about all of them, so let's get to know the most formidable one, Dunkleosteus terrelli. Let's take a look at it. We have here an ancient fish with body, fins, and tail like those of fish living in the mid-water, not near the bottom. In biology, such fish are called pelagic. Pay attention to the head of the Dunkleosteus. An expert would immediately notice that it is not a plankton filter feeder or other consumer of marine minnows. The size and shape of the jaws clearly indicate it is a dangerous predator, hunter of large prey. But the most interesting thing is that these intimidating jaws do not have teeth, a toothless predator. It's hard to believe, but that's what it is. The sharp protrusions you see, the cutting edges are sharpened against each other when they clamp together. Not a bad design. After studying the mechanics and strength of the jaws of the Dunkleosteus, the scientists made two key conclusions. First, they found that the jaws could open so quickly that they sucked water in like a pump. This works well when hunting smaller prey. Second, they found that the Dunkleosteus had tremendous bite force. For example, a calculation of a 6-meter-long Dunkleosteus showed a bite force of 4,400 Newton, 989 of the central protrusions. For comparison, the bite force of a present-day polar bear is 2,570 Newton. That's half. In a minute, you'll find out what this exception was and what role it played in the evolution of the Dunkleosteus. Now, let's find out its. Some estimates put its length at 10 meters, 32 feet, and weight in the range of 3 to 4 tons. For the late Devonian seas, this was the largest hunter. For such a solid size, the Dunkleosteus was fairly fast. It could swim at a speed of 32 to 40 kilometers per hour, 20 to 25 miles per hour. That's a high speed for marine life of the Paleozoic era. As the largest and fastest predator, Dunkleosteus was at the top of the food chain. It preyed on amenities, sharks, placoderms, and other Dunkleosteus. Yes, this is the very same exception prey we mentioned above. The fact of cannibalism is scientifically proven and allows for a very interesting hypothesis. Perhaps the brutal introspective competition served as one of the main tools for the evolution of the species. The worst enemies of the Dunkleosteus were actually its brethren, so its defenses improved in this direction. Note that in the 50 million years of the species' existence, it developed nothing to protect the back half of its body. It has remained open. Hence, we can assume that this part of the body was rarely attacked, and the defense there never appeared in the process of evolution. Apparently, the Dunkleosteus attacked the victim's head when it came to assaulting its brethren. It's a rational tactic. It hit the victim's most important organs without the risk of a return bite to its unprotected back, and the abdomen gained an advantage. As a result, we see robust and tight-fitting armor protecting these parts. They greatly, but it is quite plausible and recognized, and other alternatives are less convincing. For example, let's imagine that the Dunkleosteus preferred to attack from the tail. What would happen with this tactic? There are few options here. Most likely the attacked Dunkleosteus would try to wriggle out and bite the aggressor's tail. It's a very interesting sight. Two predators eating each other from the tail. Thus, attacking the tail of the rival. Dunkleosteus itself risks losing its tail. In any case, it would receive serious damage in response and most likely die. It is unlikely that such a method could have taken hold in the course of evolution. What else can we say about Dunkleosteus? Judging by the facts, it was the apex predator of its time, and was in harmony with its environment. Accordingly, its extinction must have been associated with profound changes in that environment. The extinction of Dunkleosteus at the end of the Devonian is associated with two peaks in the global extinction process. The Kelser event, 372 million years ago, and the Hagenberg event at the Devonian Carboniferous boundary, 359 million years ago. According to current scientists, the Hagenberg event put an end to the diversity of marine species in the Devonian seas. There is no consensus on the causes of the extinction. Various hypotheses are suggested, including such exotic ones as supernova explosion or asteroid impact. Also, there is a hypothesis that the growth of forests, the movement of vegetation from coastal zones to the depths of the continent, resulted in a lack of oxygen in the water of Devonian coastal ecosystems. It is easy to imagine the objections of the opponents of this hypothesis. It is impossible, they would say. The more forests, the more oxygen in the atmosphere. It's really so, but the point of the hypothesis is the decrease of oxygen in the water, not in the atmosphere. There was less oxygen in the coastal waters due to the increased mass of decaying organic matter. This was the result of the forests growing deep inland. They changed the structure and composition of the soil, enriching it with organics. River flowed changed accordingly. River water carried a lot of organics and other substances that stimulated the growth of microalgae into marine ecosystems. As they died and decayed, they took oxygen from the water. The lack of oxygen first led to the extinction of lower links of food chains, and then to the mass extinction of apex predators. In addition, sea currents may have changed during this period, and a large amount of hydrogen sulfide from deep waters entered coastal waters. The mystery of the extinction of Dunkleosteus is still waiting to be solved. Today, one thing is known for sure. A magnificent apex predator, perfectly adapted to natural conditions, completely disappeared from our planet. The hero of our next story, Doriaspis, also lived in the ocean depths of the early Devonian about 415 to 395 million years ago. Doriaspis was a jawless fish with an unusual body shape. Its remains were first discovered by Swedish phytopaleontologist Alfred Gabriel Nathorst during an expedition in 1882. 2 years later, the find was studied and described by British zoologist Edwin Ray Lancaster. He also gave the Doriaspis its first name, Scaphespis nathorsti. In the 20th century, a British geologist, Errol Ivor White,
My head hurt, Jack.
fish. He completed the classification of the species, and it had to be named something. White noticed that the outline looks like a combination of a spear and a shield. Taking the Greek names for these objects, he gave the ancient fish the name Doriaspis. Of course, we cannot say that this prehistoric fish was more terrifying than a dinosaur, at least because of its negligible size. According to available data, its length did not exceed 15 centimeters, 6 inches. Nor can we say today how dangerous it was, but it did look very intimidating. It had a strange body. The surface of the upper part of the body resembles a tortoise shell, and the belly is flat and smooth. The tail of the Doriaspis is long, flat, and thin, with spines on the edges. There are 2 long, almost round, bony protrusions extending from the sides of the body. In species, the protrusions resembled fins or wings and had serrations along the edges. The purpose of these outgrowths is unknown. Perhaps they help the fish to float and balance in the midwater. However, their shape is far from that of a wing. So this hypothesis is not widely supported by paleobiologists. According to other versions, the lateral protrusions serve for species recognition and also as a specific tool for digging up silt. It is difficult to assess the plausibility of these options because it is still not clear what mode of life Doriaspis had. It is not proven that this fish was pelagic, that is, lived in the midwater, but there is no evidence that it lived in the sediment area either. It is difficult to determine the function and purpose of any part of the body of an unusual fish unless we know how and where this fish lived, and how and what it fed on. This is not good for science, but
Nature's Bounty supplements your diet with superfoods in just 1 capsule per day.
I used to struggle with dandruff, but now I use Head & Shoulders every wash because the active ingredient in Head & Shoulders fights off the microbes that cause dandruff. What do you think you're doing? See? No flakes down here. Make every wash count.
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much money my friend was making with DoorDash. There are opportunities in over 4,000 cities. Signing up was super easy. And before long, I was already making deliveries. Now, I get to make my own schedule and keep 100% of my tips. Download the DoorDash driver app and get started today.
Easily plugs into Android or iPhone to control any IR device from TVS's screens. Imagine controlling the mall's TVS. Seamless setup through the app and control everything around you. Back, convenient, and compatible. Get yours in TikTok.
That's it bullshit.
But you can give free rein to your imagination. Try to suggest your own version of the purpose of the lateral protrusion. Who knows? Maybe your hypothesis will push science forward. By the way, in the case of Doriospis, this is not the only area for your hypothesis. The point is that the situation with the purpose of the central spike, or in scientific terms, rostrum, is not clearer. There is no unanimous opinion as to what Doriospis needed it for, or how it was used either. It is noteworthy that, unlike in the case of modern fishes, the spike is located under the mouth, and this is quite rational. The fish could throw up the bottom sediment with the spike. Thus, the fish immediately got all sorts of things thrown up from the body before its eyes and mouth. If there is something tasty, it could be quickly devoured. Remember that in the cruel world of natural selection, eating faster means being more efficient and having a better chance of survival. There is logic in such an explanation, but again, it all comes down to the lack of data. What if Doriospis was actually a pelagic fish that lived not on the bottom, but in the mid-water? Then the whole reasoning is useless. Unfortunately, there are far more questions than answers. We know too little about this strange fish. We believe that the main discoveries on Doriospis are yet to come. The subject of our next story is also partly connected with the evolution of life on Earth. In this story, we will present you not just one, as usual, but two ancient creatures, Mesosaurus and Mosasaurus. Their names are very similar, which sometimes leads to confusion, despite the fact that these predators were very different from each other. In addition to external differences, one of them is also famous for its special role in science. Further, you will learn which one has helped science and how. So let's talk about Mosasaurus. It was a very large sea predator. It is classified as a reptile from the order Squamata, family Mosasauridae, genus Mosasaurus. According to this classification, 5 species of Mosasaurus are known today. We describe the species Mosasaurus hoffmanni, and everything that will be further described about Mosasaurus is about it. Mosasaurus lived in the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, about 145 to 66 million years ago. Fossilized traces of their existence have been found on all continents, including Antarctica. They inhabited warm, shallow seas that were widespread in the late Cretaceous. These ancient sea lizards were warm-blooded, viviparous, with a high metabolic rate. An adult Mosasaurus could exceed 10 meters, 32 feet in length, and weighed up to 70 tons. Their average lifespan was about 42 years. Mosasaurus fed on bony fish, cephalopods, sharks, and marine reptiles. Sea turtles were its main prey. In the last 20 million years of the Cretaceous, Mosasaurus...
I ain't never been hungry at the same damn time, kid.
Sharks, the last
That's crazy.
dinosaurs, and earned the title of the top
Been it
sea
early.
of their time. Mosasaurus became extinct about 66 million years ago, along with dinosaurs and pterosaurs, in a mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period. As apex predators...
Been early, man. It ain't even late, bro. I'm sleepy like it's late, bro.
Notably, the evolution
Crazy.
of Mosasaurus gives us
I'm
useful
sleepy
information
here like it getting late, cuz. It's early, fuck.
We know that the ancestors of
9 o'clock,
Mosasaurus
bro.
lived on land. So the evolution of this predator helps us understand how the transition of a reptile group to an aquatic habitat occurred. Now let's talk about Mesosaurus. Mesosaurus fossilized remains have been found in early sediments. These sediments were formed 299 to 271 million years ago. So scientists believe that Mesosaurus lived in this period. It had neither impressive size nor weight. It was only about a meter, 3.3 feet long, in South America. The German meteorologist Alfred Wegener drew attention to these details. knowing that Mesosaurus could not cross continents' origin as a result of the splitting of an early supercontinent to several parts. Wegener published his hypothesis in 1912. Later, this idea, after thorough revision, turned into the modern theory of tectonic plate movement. This is how Mesosaurus from ancient times influenced modern science in a very unexpected area. This is its role in science, which we promised to
I ain't
tell
even
you.
ate my food yet, but I'm
After
hungry.
that, we have a lot to commend the humble freshwater lizard for. Now,
Just had
let's
one
move
little
from
wing
the
over
ocean
there,
to land
man.
and get to know amazing and fearsome creatures.
That's what my meds
that
do. It
live
make me
in
hungry, and
the
then I
dinosaurs.
fall asleep
In
when
the
I eat. Oh, not, I eat a little bit of
paleontologists
something.
Carlos
Eat a lot.
Salaco Amendino and Francisco Pascatillo Marino reported to the world the existence of Forest Rossidae, ancient flightless birds. This fact led to the realization that the entire history of flightless birds is like an iceberg. The few
And I eat
species
some,
that
man. I'm
live
here.
now
I'm
are just
missing.
the tip. Most of this iceberg is hidden in the past, and part of the hidden history was the giant Horus Rhacos, which appeared in the Paleogene after the extinction of the dinosaurs. In total, there are about 20 known species of them. Horus Rhacos roamed South America about 62 million years ago, until the mid-Pleistocene about 1.3 million years ago. An adult Horus Rhacos reached 2.5 meters, about 8 feet in height, and weighed 150 kilograms, 330 pounds on average. It had a large head and a bulky beak flattened on the sides. The end of the beak had the shape of a large hook. The ancient bird leaned on powerful legs with large claws on its toes. These details unambiguously indicate the predatory mode of life of these birds. Thanks to their long...
Where ain't my food get done, bro?
Rhacos were able to stalk and chase their prey long and efficiently. They were key predators in South America during its long geographic isolation. About 2.7 million years ago, North and South America united. The faunas of the continents began to blend, and the Pharosacos gained competitors. The invaders were stronger, so the local predators lost to them, and gradually became extinct. One of the Pharosacos, Titan's Wallery, tried to escape. This species made it to North America on foot, but even there a cruel fate befell it. The remains of this species were found in the south. The species is of great value as a result of development in isolation. One must agree that a bird that abandoned flying is an interesting evolutionary experiment. There are still debates about the reasons for this, and they may have a very interesting conclusion. The fact is that natural selection plays a major role in evolution. In a highly simplified form, it works as follows. Features that are useful for survival and reproduction are strengthened, while harmful ones eventually disappear along with their bearers. They simply die out. The main mechanism here is random mutations, due to which features appear or disappear, and natural selection only reinforces the successful version. The role of natural selection in evolution is well known. So the question is, what was wrong with Pharosacos? We know for sure that it had no competitors, which would have caused it to give up flying. So why did its wings diminish greatly in the course of evolution? Why did it stop flying? It wasn't easy to find a reason, but it was found. It has to do with the behavior of these huge birds. They didn't need to fly to find food. To reproduce, be energy-consuming and potentially risky. The last two arguments were decisive and gradually led to the Pharosacos to give up flying completely. The wings of the Pharosacos remained, but gradually shrank to a size useful in an exclusively terrestrial life. Natural selection, of course, did not disappear. It helped the flightless bird to get powerful legs and other features that allowed it to excel without flying. Pharosacos became extinct around the middle of the Pleistocene, about 1.3 million years ago. Their long of Forusricos tells us that after the dinosaurs, the birds managed to adapt to a purely terrestrial life. And there were even territories where they ranked as the dominant predators. This is certainly an amazing transformation, but you're probably wondering, what happened to the sky? It all descended to the ground, and the sky stayed empty after the pterodactyls became extinct? Now, you'll learn who got the reins of the sky after the flying lizards. Meet Argentavis.
Bro, I keep falling asleep, y'all.
Argentavis lived in the territory of modern Argentina during the Miocene epoch, about 23 to 5.3 million years ago. This means that in terms of time and
gotta eat me some, bro.
its biography overlaps with the biography of the hero of our previous story, Forusricos. Argentavis was about twice the size of the largest flying bird of today, the Andean condor. In terms of size, it could have rivaled the Pitsaurus, but those had died out long before its appearance. Argentavis weighed between 70 and 72 kilograms, 154 and 159 pounds. The height or distance from the ground to the top of the standing bird reached 180 centimeters, 6 feet. Just imagine yourself next to such a birdie. You've probably started to wonder how such a giant even took off. How high and how long could it fly? Research in this area has led to interesting conclusions. It turns out that the pectoral muscles, and this is the main power machine of flight, of Argentavis were smaller than those of other flying birds in percentage terms. This means only one thing. Argentavis could not stay in the air for long, continuous flapping its huge wings. Most likely, Argentavis relied on air currents and flapped its wings only during the takeoff and landing phases. Thus, the large wings helped it to stay in the sky as long as necessary, relying on the rising air currents. In addition, such wings made it possible not only to soar in the sky, but also to fly effortlessly in any direction. To do this, Argentavis gained altitude in the rising currents and then glided down in the desired direction. As a result, Argentavis could fly long distances with almost no wasted energy. This is an extremely energy-efficient type of flight that is used by glider pilots today. Takeoff was the most difficult task, as its huge wings inevitably touched the ground as it flapped. It probably relied on air currents here as well. It could run towards the moon so that lift force was generated, and then use its strong legs to jump up into the air. Argentavis might also have used a jump from the top of some hill to take off. Now it's time to understand why it flew. I hope none of you have been confused by this question. Apparently, it flew to get food, and scientists have found out what kind of prey it was looking for. It is recognized that Argentavis was carnivorous, but it was not an active predator. That is,
my favorite bird.
Attack and kill. It had an inappropriate body shape and relatively weak pectoral muscles for this purpose. The most likely behavior for Argentavis was that of a scavenger. The life of a scavenger is much more relaxed, and success there is achieved through fewer energy waste. As for competitors, they were small mammalian scavengers unable to confront Argentavis due to its size. It is not difficult to answer the question of who provided it with prey. Let's just remember that the main predators of Miocene South America were flightless birds, Forusricidae, which we have just described. They could easily destroy large prey and between 2.5 and 5 kilograms, 5.5 to 11 pounds of meat each day. For its size, that's a relatively small amount. So what do we have in the end? Argentavis had no threats in the air. It could hover safely for hours and wait for its flightless counterpart to leave him something for lunch. And it was satisfied with little, thanks to its amazing energy efficiency. Low food consumption and special mode of hunting of Argentavis led paleontologists to the hypothesis that this bird was also relatively according to the so-called K strategy. Let's explain a little bit what that is. Decay strategy is living within the boundaries of one's ecosystem without changing numbers. The number of specimens is determined by the food reserves in the ecosystem. With this strategy, a small, stable population of scavengers has a good chance of survival. Argentivus laid 1 or 2 eggs every 2 years, so it had few nestlings. According to the decay strategy, they stayed with their parents until they learned to find food on their own. With this reproductive rate, the number of other species did not increase, but neither did it decrease, since Argentivus died mostly from old age and diseases. Other causes accounted for no more than 2% of the death rate. Although Argentivus was undoubtedly a successful predator, this did not save the species from extinction. It did not survive to the Pliocene, and today only fossils of millions of Platybelodon. It belongs to the genus of Gomphotherium, extinct proboscidean, relatives of modern elephants. They lived in Africa, Eurasia, and North America during the Miocene and Pliocene eras more than 15 million years ago. In the Pleistocene epoch, after the merger of North and South America, the faunas of the continents mixed, and the Great American Interchange took place. And so, Gomphotherium got to South America as well. The only territories they couldn't reach were Australia and Antarctica. Gomphotherium reached the peak of its diversity in the late Miocene and became extinct in the Pleistocene. Externally, the Platybelodon looked very much like an elephant. It had 2 upper and 2 lower tusks, but unlike modern elephants, its upper tusks were bent downwards. Science doesn't know the reason for this, although there must be a reason. We know that evolution doesn't tolerate useless things. However, the upper tusks are not the most interesting thing about Platybelodon. These bizarre mammals became known for their 2 tusks on the lower jaw. They were without enamel, broad, and flattened horizontally, which gave them a resemblance to the blade of a bayonet shovel. In 1936, when describing Asian specimens of the genus Platybelodon, the famous paleontologist Henry Fairfield Osborn was the first to compare the lower pair of tusks to a coal shovel. The comparison became firmly rooted, and Platybelodon has since been often referred to as a shovel-tusked Gomphotherium. Today, of all the proboscideans, Gomphotherium still remains the most popular object of study for paleontologists. The main mystery of Platybelodon is the purpose of the shovel-shaped ornament of the lower jaw. Presumably, it has something to do with feeding, but it is not known exactly how it was used. Accordingly, it is not clear what the Platybelodon fed on. It was assumed that the lower tusks were used as a shovel for digging and raking plants. There was also a version of cutting leaves off branches from trees. Another hypothesis was raking algae from the bottom of the freshwater. But the hypothesis of a shovel for algae was supported by a lot of scientists. Specific wear, which was explained by the abrasive effect of sand and clay on the shoals, supported it. This is how it was drawn, digging in aquatic and coastal vegetation. After this hypothesis, it assumed everything.
Come on, King. King, come on here.
But in 1992, results of the study with the use of mud shovels, the Chinese scientists came to the same conclusion. Moreover, they noted that adult Platybelodons ate coarser food. Well, it's time to depict Platybelodons at lunch in a dense tropical forest. Although we cannot say for sure that the search for the truth has come to an end. Finally, we invite you to learn about the fascinating discovery story of another predator that lived in Central Asia during the mid and late Eocene epoch, about 45 to 36 million years ago. The world learned about Andrewsarchus from a skull discovered in Mongolia. It was found by an expedition led by the American scientist, paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews in Inner Mongolia in 1923. The skull was found in the Erden Manga sediments formed at the end of the mid-Eocene. At first, it was thought that the skull belonged to a giant suiforms from the Entelodonta group. These are extinct mammalian predators with a body resembling a bull and a head resembling a boar. We immediately recall the ancient Greek myths about the Minotaur, right? However, this hypothesis didn't last long. A year later, the above-mentioned paleontological predator and named it Andrewsarchus in honor of Roy Andrews, the head of the expedition that found the skull. When reconstructing Andrewsarchus, it was found that its body length was 3.8 to 4.5 meters, 12.5 to 13.1 feet, and its tail was 1.5 meters, 5 feet long. The weight of this ancient predator could have exceeded a ton, 2,200 pounds. Considering that it had a skull 83 centimeters, 2.7 feet long, and 56 centimeters, 0.85 feet wide, we can consider Andrewsarchus the largest terrestrial carnivorous mammal that ever lived. There is something mystical about the look of the Andrewsarchus. Look at this beast. What does it remind you of? Think of horror movies about werewolves. There is a certain resemblance, right? It is safe to say that in terms of frightening appearance, it was a worthy heir to the Tyrannosaurus. There is one unpleasant thing about the story of Andrewsarchus. Almost 100 years have passed since the skull was found. Nothing else has ever been discovered. Excavations are continuing all over the world, but there are no more skulls, let alone a whole skeleton. It's pretty strange and brings up some thoughts. Maybe there was no such species. Maybe it was the skull of some anomalous Sonichidae, another extinct mammal, which is far less mysterious. Of course, this can't be a final conclusion, but not a single bone in 100 years? There is definitely plenty of food for thought.
Don't miss this WNBA season. Watch live as rising stars become league legends. With game day features like key plays and more. YouTube TV. Try it free. Terms apply. Cancel anytime.
Yeah. Get your ass over there.
We often think that we know everything about our planet, but we can't even imagine the diverse creatures living next to us. Some of them could easily replace humans if they were a little luckier. Besides their primary brain, they have 8 smaller brains in different body parts. And these additional brains make decisions on their own. And under our thought, there may be a whole civilization without numbers by 6 orders of magnitude. That is 1.5 million times more than us. They have a clear hierarchy, professions and career ladders, but at the same time, a simple infection can literally turn them into zombies. Is this something out of post-apocalyptic science fiction? And these cute flying creatures are some of the most fierce and successful predators on Earth. Their hunting efficiency is almost impeccable. Nothing can save you from the attack of these nearly perfect killers. In this video, we will visit the Museum of Terrestrial Life. Whether you are a science enthusiast, a nature lover, or simply curious about the world around you, the Museum of Terrestrial Life is an excellent place to visit to deepen your understanding of the incredible diversity of life on Earth. The Museum of Terrestrial Life.
Imagine a creature that has 3 hearts, pumping blue blood through the vessels. Although it has an almost amorphous body resembling a bag of water, it can easily open a bottle, even a baby-proofed one. It can feel light and even taste with its skin. It has no ears, but it hears well, even in the infrarange. It can constantly change color and texture, becoming indistinguishable from the environment, even though it doesn't identify colors at all and sees the world in black and white. It's venomous and can be hostile, but at the same time, it's curious and even playful. On top of that, it's highly intelligent and can solve non-trivial problems. In addition to the main brain, it has 8 smaller brains in different parts of the body. And these additional brains make their own decisions. Who is this monster? Does it come from Earth? Yes, you got that right. It's an octopus. And of course, it comes from our planet. Although, some scientists entertain another idea. But first things first. The mystery of the octopus. Used to modern octopuses or octopi. Everyone has known these creatures since childhood, and this somewhat reduces our perceptual acuity. Seeing these shots, many feel surprised, but hardly anyone feels excitement or delight, even though the metamorphoses of the X-Men superheroes aren't that different. But for some reason, we perceive what we see in movies as something extraordinary. And yet we can't recognize that similar things that happen in nature can be no less extraordinary. Isn't it time to revisit how we see these creatures? Moreover, octopi are much more interesting than many people think. At that time, there was hardly anything resembling fish, not to mention reptiles or mammals. The early ancestor of the octopus was quite small, had a protective shell, and crawled along the ocean floor. Unfortunately, having a protective shell makes species evolve very slowly. For example, turtles have stayed virtually unchanged for millions of years. But about 140 million years ago, something went wrong, and these creatures evolved to be shellless. Ancestors had very slim chances of survival. This was the moment of truth. Either cephalopods became easy prey for predators and completely die out, or start developing faster and more creative. As you can see, the cephalopods decided to fight for life and radically rebuilt their anatomy. And what they did turned out to be incredibly efficient and completely outside the box. Firstly, the octopi turned their soft and almost amorphous body into a strength, not a weakness. Since the octopus has almost no firm parts except for the beak, it can crawl into any hole if it's at least a millimeter wider than its eyeball or beak. This allows the octopus to hide in very narrow crevices, which is a smarter way of staying unnoticed. In fact, they're one of the best animals on the planet to disguise themselves. Notice how quickly and unexpectedly it changes color. And not only color, but also texture, because patterns. And not only texture, but also their body surface configuration. Changes occur instantly or in stages as the octopus merges with the environment. The animal instantly becomes indistinguishable from a group of algae, coral, sand, stone, or anything else. We've seen this only in sci-fi movies, but at the same time, Here it is. What is this guy doing? Does it follow any laws of nature at all? And how is this even possible? Yes, it's really hard to understand. Cephalopod camouflage relies on a system of extremely complex tissues. Chromatophores are scattered throughout the octopus's skin. These are tiny sacs filled with. They densely cover the skin like freckles. The chromatophores can have black, red, or yellow pigment. The sacs are surrounded by radial muscles that can stretch the container, thereby revealing the pigment color. Depending on which sets of chromatophores the octopus opens or closes, it can create stripes, spots, and design entire patterns. Instantly becoming indistinguishable from nearby objects or the background. You might think, black, red, and yellow. But other colors? For this, the octopus uses a whole different mechanism, which is even cooler. There's a whole layer of highly unusual thin cells that grow in a kind of stacks in the octopus's transparent skin. These are iridophores, which are located directly below the chromatophore layer. And unlike chromatophores, they don't contain them, but rather special proteins called reflectins. Their unique property is being able to reflect only certain light wavelengths. It is thanks to iridophores that the octopus can turn into unreal shades of metallic blue and green. But that's not all. Under the iridophore chromatophores, an octopus can quite convincingly recreate its surroundings. But even that's not all. The octopus's camouflage arsenal has a real color that virtually allows it to disappear from sight altogether. Its skin has another structure, a network of papillae that can change the skin texture, creating rising and falling ridges and bumps. So the octopus imitates not only the color and pattern of the surroundings, but even the surface configuration. Do you spot an octopus here? I don't see it either. Nobody does. And yet, August 1st, see the AMP Center like next rock. Must have been quite the joke.
Got this, and we've got you. That's what you can expect from the #1 largest nursing school in the country.
Perfecting your swing is hard.
I shot that.
But replacing your windshield doesn't have to be. Get it fixed now and pay later with flexible payment options only at SafeLight.com.
No, not even WhatsApp can hear your personal messages. So your baby's first introductions, it's private.
It's in front of us. With all these tools, the soft-bodied, shellless octopus has been food oceanic predators for millions of years. But octopi rely on more than just their camouflage to survive. The way they manage their body is an even more effective survival tool. When octopi travel across the sea floor, they have to constantly register the background to change their camouflage accordingly. They are lightning fast at making decisions. Observations have shown that an octopus can change its camouflage 177 times an hour. And the octopus's camouflage reaction speed is up to 200 milliseconds, which is faster than that of any other animal. To put this in perspective, it takes about 20 seconds for a chameleon to completely change its color. Considering how fast the octopus reacts to its surroundings, and the accuracy of reproducing colors, patterns, and shapes, one naturally with a pair of regular eyes. And here comes an even bigger surprise. The octopus generally can't distinguish colors with its eyes at all. It's completely colorblind. Oh my god, what? How is this possible? How can it reproduce the colors that it can't even accurately see? Just recently, scientists started to research this question. Detailed studies conducted in 2015 showed some convincing results. Researchers discovered that octopus skin is sensitive to light due to photoreceptor genes in the skin. Even when the skin is separated from the body, it can react to light and change the shape of chromatophores. One can only wonder how the sense of sight is processed by the octopus's brain and consciousness. Hold on, did I just say octopus consciousness? Did I say it out loud? Well, I'll have to explain what I mean. Moreover, this is perhaps the most amazing thing about octopuses, even cooler than their camouflaging talents. But first, let's start with their nervous system. We take for granted our centralized hierarchical nervous system. However, the octopus can easily prove that everything can be completely different. Imagine that in addition to the contents of the skull, each of your arms and legs has a brain of its own. Please, hands grab whatever they want. For real, they literally do whatever they please. Can you imagine what it is like to define brains? How will most diverse impulses be managed within such a complex physiological structure? It makes for a good Hollywood movie, but the reality is much more thrilling than any movie. We somehow can get used to the fact that an octopus has 3 hearts. There's one major heart that pumps blood throughout the whole body. The other 2 are specialized to pump blood only through the gills. But how do you like the fact that each of its tentacles also has a separate mini brain? And this is no exaggeration. These nerve clusters can make decisions completely independently. If you cut off the poor fellow's tentacle, it will continue to react to the environment, run away from threats, and try to grab potential prey. The octopus's nervous system isn't concentrated in the brain, which serves as a centralized organ of analysis and control. Their skeletonless body can bend anywhere and in any direction. Such flexibility calls for equally complex and flexible control. In the process of evolution, octopuses have learned to delegate authority by literally outsourcing local problems to their own limbs. For example, when a person opens a jar, the brain focuses on what the sense organs feel and gives appropriate signals to the hand muscles. Squeeze the jar with a certain force, make some movement, take a stable position, and many more fine motor commands. All these instructions come from the center. But it's enough for the octopus to trigger the desired behavioral response by saying, tentacle number 5, open the jar. It's not my problem how you do it. I'll be here waiting. Thinking limbs independently manage complex manipulations and transformations, receiving only general instructions from the central part. By the way, there's every reason to believe that the octopus changes the surface pattern consciously, and not just reflexively or adaptively. This might seem like total science fiction, I know, but there is direct evidence that the cephalopod can mimic dozens of both living and non-living objects that make up its magical habitat. For example, when observing an octopus in its natural environment, people sometimes confuse it with a stingray, a chiodrum krill, and even a jellyfish. The octopus often does this without actually needing camouflage, but just for fun. This amazing nervous system structure raises a whole set of other questions. What is it like to be a creature with 9 brains? What could such a personality be? And what would octopi evolve into in another 100 or 2 million years? If a furless 2-legged monkey doesn't completely ruin this planet in all this time, will it have some absolute real consciousness? Even based on very little data available, we can confidently assert octopus's outstanding mental abilities. For example, it's known for certain that octopi easily recognize human faces. Previously, it was believed that only primates, dolphins, and some corvids, such as magpies and crows, could do this. Octopi get used to the person caring for them very quickly, and distinguish their owner from other people. There are many curious cases when an octopus recognized people who they didn't like and swam away from the aquarium wall. It also changed the color to signify aggression and irritation, and vice versa. If the octopus liked something, it moved closer to the wall with the fish and didn't show any signs of hostility. For example, the octopus is smart enough to easily open a bottle of pills with a special baby-proof cap. Moreover, it can break free if it is locked inside the jar with a screw cap. The octopus has enough intelligence and technical strength for this. Another essential marker of octopus intelligence can be observed during flight. When an animal is intelligent enough, it starts to entertain itself whenever it feels safe and bored. When hunger doesn't make it look for food and predators don't pursue it, what is left to do is either sleep or kill time doing something meaningless that has no evolutionary advantage whatsoever. Sounds too close to home, isn't it? But whatever. One time, experimenters placed an octopus in an empty aquarium, where it was a secluded place to hide. There were no more attractions. After some time, they threw a plastic jar into the tank. It floated on the water surface in the stream created by the compressor. At first, the octopus simply ignored it, but then it began to shoot a jet of water at the jar, throwing it back out of order. The jar came back downstream and everything, and the whole thing was repeated dozens of times. This is such a simple entertainment that absolutely all octopuses came up with in the course of the experiment. Just keep in mind, we're talking about a cephalopod, not about a dog or a cat, but a pile of goo, damn it. And so no one can come to some unexpected conclusions. The fact is that until now, playing behavior has been considered an exclusively social phenomenon. While playing, animals learn to communicate, dominate, and obey. But the octopus is an absolutely self-sufficient animal, with no hierarchy in social behavior. This makes scientists reconsider the established ideas about the nature of intelligence. Previously, it was believed that it was social ties and communication that at one point drove the intelligence in vertebrates to develop. But in this regard, the octopus easily went against the system. Scientists can make many unexpected discoveries when it comes to studying this extraordinary creature. What complicates things even further is that it's really difficult to observe an octopus in its natural environment, as it prefers solitude. And setting up experiments in a laboratory on collected individuals isn't that simple. Therefore, it's hard to imagine what else this strange creature is capable of. There is another fundamental oddity in all of this. The octopus has managed to go through an evolutionary path that spanned hundreds of millions of years. It survived terrible disasters that wiped out dinosaurs.
Create new Rice Krispies Treats Bliss. Textbook snacking perfection.
Fabuloso, dramatically clean. There's a package of things still on the roof. Here are the radios on the roof.
You want to see what's right for you. With a personalized feed, you do. See what you like.
We'd love to brag about how different we are from other primates, but if you look at the octopus and how it differs from its relatives, human achievements don't seem to go the way they 750 million years ago. After that, evolution took us in different directions. This happened 350 million years before the first tetrapods appeared, which gave rise to all amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. 500 million years from another planet. An international team of scientists led by Australian immunologist Edward Steele of the Center of Astrobiology came to our planet in a ready-made form by comets. The hypothesis is controversial, but the article was published in the peer-reviewed journal, progress in biophysics and molecular biology. There's nothing unscientific in the very idea of terrestrial life coming from near or deep space. The panspermia hypothesis is not only recognized, but is actually well founded. Organics are found anywhere, in comets, in interstellar clouds, even in the deadly Venus atmosphere. But Edward Steele's team went much further than the panspermia hypothesis. In a new paper, scientists admit that octopi could not have appeared as a result of terrestrial evolution. Researchers consider the genetic and behavioral diversity of modern cephalopods such as squid, cuttlefish, and octopi to be extremely unusual. At the same time, complex anatomical features such as a nervous system and a large brain, highly unusual chambered eyes, and lightning fast camouflage all appeared within a relatively short period of time. The octopus genome has 33,000 protein-coding genes, which is more than in humans. Some genetic features contrast sharply with those of other cephalopods. Steele's group believes that such genetic features could have emerged through random mutations. That is, these genes are of cosmic origin. Researchers think it's plausible that frozen octopuses came to Earth with the comets. Of course, the theory has been mercilessly criticized and ridiculed. According to Science Alert, although this work is interesting, it's highly speculative. Editor Dennis Noble suggests that the article was published only to rekindle the debate on the origin of life and evolution. As there, we find more and more evidence of organic matter on other celestial bodies. Wherever octopi actually originate, in many ways they represent an alternative course of evolution, and they have plenty of opportunities even to build their own kind of civilization. The oceans certainly provide a lot of such opportunities. Underwater volcanoes, tides, and sun, waves, and wind can serve as energy sources. Oil, gas, as well as nickel, manganese, and cobalt deposits are hidden at the ocean bottom. Even more, metals can be extracted from seawater. For example, one needs to filter only 50,000 cubic meters of water to obtain a kilogram of iron. Thanks to the diversity of marine life, one can easily develop biotechnological solutions, including bioluminescent light based on deep-sea organisms and coral-based construction. The water electrolysis makes it possible to obtain oxygen and hydrogen. And these are fuel components that would make it possible to start jet propulsion first in water and then in the atmosphere and near space. So why did octopi choose to remain animals, albeit very intelligent, if they had an immense potential for developing intelligence and even building some kind of civilization over millions of years? Why are we the pinnacle of creation and not them? The reason doesn't lie in the lack of intelligence. Ironically, their strengths have become their weaknesses. For example, some of their anatomic features. So the blood of cephalopods uses hemocyanin, which doesn't contain iron like our hemoglobin, but copper. That's why it's blue. Such blood is less efficient solitary lifestyle, but a cruel joke on octopi. Living not in packs, they don't pass on experience from one generation to the next and start learning about the world from scratch. Were it not for these factors, cephalopods and their relatives could have been impressively sentient. And one day, the two-legged kings of the land, that is us, will confront the civilization of the eight-legged kings of the sea. Alternatively, the two could build the greatest intercivilization alliance ever. However, it's never too late. Most likely, we're looking for our intellectual equals in the wrong place. Our planet doesn't provide a lot of opportunities for developing a marine civilization compared to ocean planets. Even though water covers over 70% of our planet's surface, it accounts for only about 0.05% of its mass. On a planet planetary scale, all the depths of terrestrial oceans are a thin film on a huge stone block with a molten core. Meanwhile, we find great oceans even in our solar system, such as on Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. And that's not to mention the distant exoplanets. Some of them are billions of years older than the Earth and the Sun. It's hard even to imagine what kind of marvelous civilization could develop with such an impressive head start. But thanks to octopi, we can at least remotely imagine what these fantastic creatures might look like. Imagine a civilization that outnumbers humanity by 6 orders of magnitude, by 1.5 million times. And it's not some bacteria. These creatures equate a fully functional social life. They have a clear hierarchy, professions, and career goals. They're long past the hunting and gathering stage and have successfully transitioned to agriculture and animal husbandry. They teach the youth, take care of the elderly and the disabled, and bury their dead. They can even reproduce by cloning. They've easily outlived every single species that prevailed on their planet in the last 100 million years. But at the same time, a simple infection can turn them into real zombies. Does it seem like some post-apocalyptic science fiction to you? And yet, it's not. It's all about ants. How many ants there are on the earth? How much they weigh? When they emerge? How they live? How they practice agriculture? Why their society resembles human civilization? And much more that will surprise and even shock you. We've all seen ants and we may have a vague idea of how many ants there are on the planet. But few people are even approximately close to their estimation because the real numbers are somewhat mind-blowing. Today, there are 14,218 species of ants alone. And this is not considering the additional 1,758 subspecies. Nobody really knows the total number of these creatures. Most commonly, the ant population is estimated to be about 10 quadrillions. That is 10,000 trillion individuals. Yes, I know, it's hard to wrap your head around this figure. In total, this giant biomass weighs approximately tens of billions of kilograms. What's interesting is that this figure exceeds the total weight of humanity as far back as 2,000 years ago. Ants inhabit all corners of the planet and all continents except Antarctica. They emerged about 110 to 130 million years ago, probably in the Laurasia supercontinent. Historically, they come from ancient wasps, but scientists haven't yet identified any specific wasp species as their ancestors. And despite ants' close resemblance to termites, the two shouldn't be confused. Termites aren't even related to them and are closer to cockroaches based on their family tree. Ants can vary in size by an order of magnitude. The smallest is about 2 millimeters long, and the largest species can reach several centimeters. The largest fossil ants in history belong to the genus Formicute. Their females reach 7 centimeters long, with a wingspan of up to 15 centimeters. Yes, ants have wings, and we aren't talking about different species. In general, all ants belong to the Hymenoptera order, which might give it away. as terra means a wing in Latin. But for the most part, only females and males have wings, and worker ants are wingless.
An elegant touch for an everyday meal. Family Fair napkins. Elevate every day.
You know, after school, I got to 100 years. It's really good,
Hey, I shopped online and got pre-qualified for this SUV. Now I want to take it for a test drive.
And we have it in red. Lobsters only turn red when you boil them.
Don't miss this WNBA season. Watch live as rising stars become elite legends. With game day features like key plays and more. YouTube TV. Try it free. Tons of legends at the top.
Hold on, what? Does it mean that workers are neither females nor males? That's not a mistake, as we deliberately distinguish between worker ants, males, and females. In fact, worker ants are technically females, but they have an underdeveloped reproductive system which effectively renders them asexual. How do they reproduce then? Well, having this privilege doesn't help us. Ant reproduction is filled with such a powerful mix of drama, romance, and grotesque that people never dreamed of. It all starts with a nuptial flight. This is a special time for insects when new colonies appear at all planet latitudes where comes the spring. Winged females and males leave the nest to mate and form new families. This is the only time in the life of ants when they use their wings for their intended purpose. Ant wings are clumsy and function poorly. Females often climb high plant stems and use them as a launching pad to start their flight. Males are more agile and often take off directly from the ground. Mating itself happens in the air, right in mid-flight. Yes, nature is sometimes that romantic. But that's where the romance ends. After mating, the male no longer has any right purpose and soon dies. What does the female do? She flies away from her former home. On landing, it immediately bites off its own wings. What for? Because she doesn't need them anymore. The female is fertilized only once in her life. There will never be a second flight. Ever. The future queen begins to look for a place to form a new colony. The genetic material left by the male is enough for the female to lay fertilized eggs throughout her life. And queens live for a very long time, up to 12 to 20 years, depending on the species. Simple worker ants live no more than 5 years. However, it's worth noting that such breeding patterns are typical for most ant species, but not all. In some species, workers can also mate and produce offspring. And in some species, hit the other extreme and reproduce, like cloning. No laboratories or test tubes, but the idea is somewhat similar. For example, an species called Mycosaurus smithii reproduces by parthenogenesis. In this type of reproduction, females emerge from unfertilized eggs. And these are not some extra eggs that the males didn't have time to get to. The thing is that there is no one to fertilize them. There are simply no males. In the process of evolution, the species deemed them to be non-essential. When colonies of Mycosaurus smithii were discovered in the Amazon basin, Scientists were amazed at this turn of natural evolution. All individuals in the discovered colony were females, and all of them were exact copies of the same queen, and naturally, each hungry. The data was published in a report by the research team and Proceedings of the Royal Society. The researchers admitted that they stumbled upon this amazing fact. They noticed that the males were missing while studying other aspects of this species' life. Not being able to identify males in the nest based on external signs, scientists conducted a DNA clones. After that, scientists found that the most important reproductive organ in a queen, the copulatory bag, has completely lost its function. However, several years later, large-scale research revealed that individual population, 80% of all selected individuals in all of South and Central America turned out to be clones. Coming from different queens, but still clones. And this means that Microcephalus smithii finally choose its reproduction method. But it can be a tragic mistake. The ability of the ant kingdom as a whole. These guys easily outlived the dinosaurs, so they're unlikely to be seriously endangered. And given how ant society works, it's time to think that these guys may well build some kind of alternative civilization. In terms of social structure, ants are the closest to humans on Earth. Each new discovery in myrmecology, the science of ants, proves this once and again. The anthill has a strict hierarchy and distribution of roles. The nest is managed by the queen, the founder of the colony, who lays eggs. The queen is surrounded by a retinue of 10 to 12 worker ants, who serve her by feeding and taking care of her in every possible way. As a rule, mostly young ants do this. This is literally a kind of social practice that all nested ants go through for about a month. The task of such trainees is to take care of the queen, eggs, or larvae. Ant brings the food it is found to the authorities, who decide how it gets distributed throughout the anthill. In addition to food, the anthill is also fed with a special pheromone, an odorous substance secreted by the queen. It contains information about her health, thus, if you will, their offspring. Ants can learn directly, that is, acquire knowledge based on someone else's experience rather than their own mistakes. This is generally something extraordinary for insects. The most experienced and tough forager hunter is the first to attack the prey. It shows the young its skills on how to attack, sting, and kill. That's how it teaches the younger generation hunting skill. It is blocked by an intricate labyrinth. The foragers will eventually find a passage after wandering through some nooks and crannies. And then they remember the labyrinth path for at least 4 days, even if they have to stay put due to bad weather during this time.
Airwick scented oil keeps your space fragrant for up to 60 days. Airwick, always fragrant, always inviting. Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
Just take classes, take charge. Start your comeback today.
How's your number?
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much money my friend was making with DoorDash. There are opportunities in over 4,000 states. Signing up was super easy. And before long, I was already making deliveries. Now, I get to make my own schedule and keep 100% of my tips. Download the DoorDash
ants have a good sense of time and effectively use it. If a feeder is placed strictly at a certain time near the ant path, the foragers will quickly remember the time when the food appears and will gather it at this site just in time. If the feeding stops, the ants will still come to this place for another 5 days at the very same time. Final ants are very well organized. At the first warning signal, they only prepare the family property for moving. They bring the larvae and pupae to the exit and only a small part to the surface. As if hoping for a false alarm, the ants don't actually start fleeing until the danger is confirmed. Given such a complex interaction, how do thousands of ants manage to communicate effectively? How do they know where to go? Some ants make sounds by stridulation, a characteristic chirping produced with the stomach and jaw segments. Sounds ants leave pheromone traces on the soil surface, which are easily picked up by other individuals. In species that feed in groups, the foraging ants mark the trail on its way back to the colony after finding something tasty. Other ants follow this trail and reinforce it with their pheromones when they go back to the colony for food. When the food source runs out, the returning ants leave no new trails. If successful, the ant leaves a new trail indicating the shortest path on its return. Successful trails are followed by more ants who reinforce the best routes. This is how ants form their trails. Ants use pheromones for more than just trails. A squash ant emits an alarm pheromone that drives nearby ants into an attack frenzy and attracts ants from afar. Some ant species even use misleading pheromones to confuse enemy ants and cause them to attack each other. Pheromones are produced by many structures in the ants' bodies. Dufour's glands, venom glands, as well as the glands in the hindgut, coccyx, rectum, sternum, and hind leg, are all used for pheromone communication. Ants also exchange pheromones with each other, mixing them with food, thereby transmitting information within the colony. This allows other ants to determine which task group other family members belong to. Also, some ant types have more than one queen in the colony, but a whole caste of queens. And when the dominant queen stops producing a specific pheromone, it signals a change in power. The workers begin to take care of another queen, who becomes the dominant one. The variety of communication modes combined with tiny but extremely rational brains give ants an amazing advantage in building a civilization-like society. Being infinitely far from higher mammals, and especially people, ants nonetheless turn out to be capable of agriculture and animal breeding, in the most real sense of the word. Most ants are generic predators, scavengers, and herbivores. Many herbivorous ant species rely on unique symbiosis with their own gut microbes to enhance the nutritional value of the plant food they harvest. But many ant species have achieved some remarkable results by following the path that was once chosen by humans. Specifically, ants have developed their own brand of agriculture. This practice has spread so widely that ant farming can now be clearly classified. The most primitive, lower agriculture was mastered by 80 ant species. 34 species of ants grow coral mushrooms for their mates, and 18 species practice yeast breeding. Finally, 63 ant species have mastered higher agriculture. They learn to grow mushrooms and create entire mushroom gardens. What's even more surprising, some special mushroom varieties have emerged that were literally domesticated by generations of ants. These mushrooms can no longer survive in the wild, but only at ant farms, under the watchful care of these amazing creatures. A colony of leaf-cutting ants represents a good example of such agriculture. They arrange entire mushroom plantations and use finely chopped leaves as a substrate. Yes, you heard that right. The ants feed the leaves to their colony and cut them into small pieces to use as fertilizer. And even in agriculture, ants retain a clear specialization and a set of professions. Basically, an ant's job depends on the size of the individual. The larger workers cut the stems. The smaller individuals gnaw the leaves into pieces. And the smallest tend to the plantation. They even protect mushrooms from harmful bacteria. The bacteria that produce substances that act as an antibiotic against other bacteria that are dangerous to fungi live on the outer surface of the ants went one step further. I like the fact that ants have also managed to master animal husbandry. Part of being active and formidable predators, especially considering their size, ants have learned to eat livestock. But instead of cattle, they breed aphids who secrete special nectar called honeydew, which is a valuable high-energy food. Ants graze aphids on nearby plants and take care of them, protecting them from other predators. They learn not only to collect the nectar secreted by aphids, but also to literally milk these tiny insects. To milk an aphid, the ant tickles its abdomen with its antenna, and the aphid obediently releases excess nectar at the ant's first request. Interestingly, this doesn't even come close to parasitism, since without ants' hair, aphids die much sooner from other predators. When migrating to another area, many ant colonies take aphid herds with them. The parallels with our animal farming are quite obvious here. Looking at all these achievements, one might think that ants represent some kind of flawless life. They have an invincible, incredibly precise, and rational collective consciousness. However, their way of life only seems to be flawless at first sight, as it has some major downsides. And when taken collectively, these downsides may sometimes lead to a full-blown tragedy. Look at this. What's this? Are the ants celebrating something? Right? Or perhaps a ritual dance? No, this is the so-called death circle. Almost all of these ants will soon die. They will continuously spin in this deadly circle to the point of complete exhaustion. But what for? And why? This phenomenon occurs due to a system error. Remember, we've mentioned how well pheromone trail market works for ants. Even though developed through millions of years of evolution, this system might play a cruel joke on ants. If a group of ants make several turns in the same direction along the route, they stumble upon its own order trail, left just a minute ago. After walking along the path, the insect makes the same turns again, going back to the same point. And the cycle repeats over and over again. The most annoying thing is that when following their own footsteps many times, the ants keep on secreting pheromones. In doing so, they reinforce this vicious circle and their own confidence that they're going in the right direction. These cheerful and unsuspecting ants are joined by their friends, who have absolutely no idea as to what caused this massive procession. The result of this march is easily predictable. Thousands of individuals die from exhaustion in this deadly dance. Only an accidental external intervention can save them. The largest death circle was observed by the U.S. traveler William B. in 1921 in diameter. He claimed that hesitant ants created a 365-meter-wide circle, and their self-destructive march lasted 2 days. By the way, such whirlwinds aren't that rare, and almost all types of ants can be sucked into the death circle. Unfortunately, ants do this as a part of ingrained behavior patterns. Such accidents happen all the time where there are several ant trails nearby. However, we simply walk by most of them, and often only a few individuals fall into the trap. On open and flat terrains, such circles may reach truly gigantic proportions. And it looks creepy. The ants behave like some kind of zombie. But did you know that ants can actually become zombies? No kidding.
Let's get summer ready at CVS. Showing you some of my favorites, but you can't go wrong here. From swim gear to refreshing drinks, CVS is a one-stop shop. So grab your Bud Light Elite hydration pack and SPF for your whole camp and bring on the summer fun. Shop CVS for all your summer essentials. An instant online offer to sell your car at CarMax. CarMax, the way car selling should be.
Are you rich or just really good at budgeting? No, I am not rich. I'm Roseanne. I am good at budgeting. Getting into college has really helped me take control of my money and take control of my finances. I have both a checking and a savings account with them, and I really appreciate the high-yield savings options. That really helps me grow my money. So go ahead and open your account today and check it out.
The typical zombie apocalypse scenario we see in movies is an infection that turns people into creepy, mindless creatures. But nature has a similar eerie scenario. This is Cordyceps lopsided. It seems to be a harmless fungus. But if ants had dreams, this fungus would surely be their worst nightmare. Being infected with the spores of this fungus is the most terrible thing that can happen to an ant. Once in the ant's body, cordyceps spores begin to germinate inside, controlling the insect's behavior more and more. The most real sense of the word. To turn an ant into a docile zombie, the fungus simultaneously affects several functions of the nervous system. It disrupts the ant's daily routine by interfering with the genes responsible for circadian rhythms. What's even worse, the parasite affects the victim's sense of smell, its main communication channel. As a result, at this stage, the fungus already controls its behavior, looking for optimal conditions to fully mature. Eventually, the fungus causes the ant to find a cool, damp spot and bite down on the body of the leaf from the branch. Once the ant bites the leaf, it can no longer let it go, as the fungus blocks muscle function. The fungus keeps on growing inside the ant's body until it eventually pierces its head and releases new spores. This whole process takes about 10 painful days, and most of the time, the insect is alive. Science has long known of this phenomenon, but until now, scientists have been unable to understand exactly how the parasitic fungus can control the ant's mind. It is often called a brain parasite, but a study from February 2021, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, disproves this theory. Turns out that the insect's brain remains intact, and the ant is being controlled by introducing the mycelium into the muscle fibers throughout the body. In fact, an affected ant becomes an exoskeleton and a means of fungus transportation, while ant tissue cells are partially replaced by fungi. That is, the ant effectively becomes one with the fungus. Like a real puppeteer, fungus pulls the strings, forcing the ant to perform this terrible scenario. zombie influence. Nonetheless, despite all their weaknesses, ants firmly occupy their niche in the Earth's biosphere. And the structure of their society, and how closely it resembles human civilization, is even a little shocking. Who knows what kind of civilization leap they might make in the future? These animals aren't like any of the living creatures on Earth. They look like they came from some other planet. Biologically speaking, they are quite different from all other terrestrial beings, which has put them in the spotlight where not by females as usual, but by males, which sets them apart from all other terrestrial beings. The smallest species of these creatures are only 2 centimeters long, and the largest are up to 30. Their body is covered with spikes. They serve both as camouflage and protection from predators, because they don't know how to defend themselves. At the same time, they're very successful predators, with a whooping 90% hunting success rate, which far exceeds the rate of such dangerous predators as leopards, white sharks, or killer whales. They can also mimic chameleons. By changing their body color, they merge with the vegetation, thereby avoiding the attention of both predators and potential prey. They need to eat continuously throughout their lives, otherwise they will be starving to death, since they don't have a stomach. The ingested food is absorbed and the is removed right away. They're seahorses. The first seahorses emerged on Earth at least 13 million years ago. According to paleontologists, this is exactly how old their oldest fossilized remains are. This period was marked by the antecessor genus appeared, which gave rise to the human race. For many years, paleoichthyologists have wondered about seahorses' origin and evolution. And while earlier their origin was considered a mystery, there's been some substantial progress in this field in recent years. Fossils show that as far back as 13 million years, these fish look almost like modern ones, which means that they had originated and evolved much earlier. A number of genetic studies on nuclear and mitochondrial DNA prove the existing hypothesis that seahorses originated through evolutionary transformations from pipe horses, which happened 5 million years ago. Indeed, if we mentally bend the pipe horse into a chess horse figure, get rid of its tail, twist the remaining stem into a spiral, and add more outgrowths, horns, on the muzzle, we would get a regular seahorse. It's likely that during its evolution, the pipe horse separated from the classic pipefish that already had, which later gave rise to typical seahorses. Using the most modern methods, paleontological research fully proves this theory. Therefore, the hypothetical alien origin of seahorses is just a beautiful mystical idea that was completely debunked by science. But where does this strange reproduction come from? After all, pipe horses, who are the seahorses' ancestors, breed in the most common way, while in seahorses, it is the male that bears the offspring. This is also a very interesting story. More about that in a minute. Seahorses live in coastal shallow areas of tropical and subtropical seas and oceans, and cold water is actually harmful to them. There are about 50 species of these creatures, and each can flaunt a unique appearance and color. What makes them special is that they seem to combine body parts of various animals, and not only marine ones. The head resembles a horse, but has a pointed mouthpiece like an anteater. The 360-degree vision and separately rotating eyes, as well as the ability to change colors and merge with the environment, are something that seahorses share with a chameleon. An abdominal pouch for bearing offspring resembles that of a kangaroo. And a twisty tail that seahorses use to clean the vegetation reminds us of some primate species. A miracle of nature. Nothing less, nothing more. My fish standards, seahorses swim very poorly and slowly. Because of this, they lead a predominantly sedentary lifestyle, attaching their tail to sea plants, merging with them, and thus waiting for prey.
Want to take the next step with Entivio? Then it's time to talk to your healthcare provider. With Entivio, you may be able to pay as little as $5 per dose. Plus, our team can help connect you with additional support programs.
With hotels tonight. Pay you 10% back in Airbnb credit. Save here. Reward there. Hotel tonight, Airbnb credit. That's good. Nice deal.
Jim here, and Jackie and Tom.
Ending a divorce?
Oof. There's a reason Detective Johnson is the gossip king. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm.
5 days later,
Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
many people have been invested, particularly using the US markets, especially if you're not in the Financial Times and Macmillan and Wiley. Have a look at outreachcontrol.com for which will also give you lots and lots of my videos off YouTube as well. Okay, so have a look at all of those and you will find lots and lots of my videos off YouTube as well. Okay, so have a look at all of those and you will find lots and lots of my videos off YouTube as well. Okay, so have a look at all of those and you will find We're swimming vertically is an advantage that allows you to masterfully blend into the environment. Vertical blades of grass and corals easily hide vertical fish, provided that it completely blends in with the environment's color and texture. Typically, seahorses live for 4 to 5 years. Seahorses live in colonies, but they can't be called schooling fish. They swim and prey alone, and breed in pairs. When seahorses choose a partner, most often they don't separate all their lives. Perhaps this isn't the most accurate comparison. We also settle in colonies, otherwise known as cities or towns, and each person lives separately or creates a couple. Seahorses have a very similar way of life. Seahorses are the only vertebrates whose males bear children and give birth. In many known animals, fathers incubate eggs, protect and feed offspring. But only in seahorses do males bear fertilized eggs and give birth. Early in the morning, males perform a ritual dance. Each male swims around his chosen one, demonstrating that he is ready to breed. During the mating period, the male's shell in the chest turns dark. Seahorses are talented dancers who like circling each other or a floating object, flashing iridescent colors and intertwining tails in a courtship that sometimes lasts for several days. On his head, the seahorse moves in circles around the female, with his tail slightly touching the bottom. This elaborate courtship dance takes place every day, but mating requires the male and female to mature at the same time. On a mating day, at a certain moment during the breeding ritual, the female abruptly raises her head and swings up, and the male follows her. At this moment, you can easily see the female's ovipositor, and the male lightly opens up his pouch. The female directs the ovipositor into the wide opening of the pouch and lays eggs, which are fertilized by the male at the same time. The whole process takes only 6 seconds. It's hard to believe such high efficiency, but nature is rich in miracles, and science proves this fact with the help of videos and research. The male brood sac is analogous to the placenta in female mammals, providing oxygen and nutrients to growing embryos. But why, contrary to all logic and reason, this function is given by nature to seahorse males? Well, this is a mystery to scientists. The only plausible theory that wasn't refuted by other hypotheses is that in this way, nature allows seahorses to produce the maximum number of offspring. After laying the eggs and entrusting the male with bearing embryos, the female begins to produce eggs again, thus making the process of reproduction virtually continuous. This is very true in a population of creatures where less than 0.5% of newborns survive until adult childbearing age. After all, seahorse fry, although fully formed and ready for living independently after birth, don't yet have armor and spikes, fangs, and become easy prey in the ocean jungle. Childbirth is a complex biological process that, in pregnant female mammals and reptiles, is controlled by hormones, including oxytocin. It causes contractions of the smooth muscles of the uterus. Smooth muscles are a special type of muscle that cannot be controlled consciously and are found in the walls of most internal organs and blood vessels. Scientific studies have shown that in male seahorses, the bulk of the brood pouch muscles are skeletal muscles, which are under conscious control. In other words, male seahorses decide when to give birth. Thanks to the six-pack abs, male abdominal skeletal muscles are much bigger than females. Future fathers literally shoot batches of tens or even hundreds of fry, up to 1,500 eggs, during childbirth, quickly emptying the brood pouch in breeding season. Some species show a higher level of couple fidelity than others. However, many species willingly change partners when the opportunity arises. The mating habits of many other species haven't been studied, so it's unknown how many species are actually monogamous and how long these bonds last. The females have the final say when choosing a mate, not the males. In fish and other animals that don't have brilliant intelligence, monogamy is very rare to come by. However, the lack of intelligence, or rather the lack of long-term memory in fish, can separate a couple and they will no longer feel a liking for each other after just a few days of being apart. They will simply forget each other. Immediately after birth, seahorse fry begin to live independently from the parents, not being under their care in any way, like most newborn animals on Earth. As early as the first minutes of life, they begin to feed on microscopic crustaceans. However, they may become food themselves for other aquatic creatures due to their defenselessness, unformed armor, and small size. The structure of the body and tail is another unique feature of seahorses that calls for special attention. The body structure of the vast majority of marine animals protects them from predators. Razor-sharp fins, venomous spikes and needles, armor-like carapaces, skin pattern that mimics the environment. All these features are designed to ensure one's protection and survival in the ocean jungle. The defense that seahorses have is completely different from most living creatures known to us. Their body is covered with movable bony plates that slide parallel to each other, providing greater maneuverability during movement. This armor works better than, for example, in crustaceans, and at the same time is much more durable than fish scales. They are difficult to bite through or break, and can only be bent, allowing the seahorse to survive in the most dangerous situations. The seahorse's tail is square, not round like in all other animals. The skeleton of a seahorse's tail is made from L-shaped bone pieces that fit together to form these squares. The squares line up in rows and become progressively smaller towards the tail tip. Muscles attached to the skeleton allow the tail to move and even grasp objects. Compared to an oval-shaped tail, like in our beloved dogs and cats, the seahorse tail was found to be stiffer and more resilient under shock waves. The tail's square prisms bends much better, and combined with the structure's rigidity, which almost is rare among fishes. Out of some 30,000 kinds of fish, only seahorses and their close relatives called pipe horses can get a tail grip. Yet within the seahorse family, the rare fish tails that bend into a hook have evolved independently several times. And promotes seahorse survivability, an important part of their hunting and camouflage. In addition, scientific experiments have shown that when crushed, square tail plates are flattened, which prevents damage to the spinal column and saves seahorses' life when attacked. See how the square plate bends but doesn't break? Nature's given seahorses a unique body and tail structure. Of all the fauna, look at the head, which in fact serves as a steering wheel that allows them to choose movement direction. Pelvic and pectoral fins are absent. Because of this, some types of seahorses cannot swim faster than a few meters per hour. However, with a sedentary lifestyle, this isn't a problem for them. They don't rely on speed for survival or hunting, like other fish, but rather on their slowness. If they need to migrate to a new or suitable place, seahorses travel on top of a larger fish, clinging to their fins with their tails and leaving their transport after reaching a suitable place, like their favorite kelp beds. The seahorse's swim bladder is located along the entire body and is divided by a septum that separates the head from the rest of the body. The cephalic bladder is larger than the abdominal one, which ensures the vertical position of the seahorse when swimming. This position, which makes them strange and unusual creatures in the underwater world, is also their great advantage, allowing them to hunt as efficiently as possible and have the status of one of the most successful hunters on the planet. What makes their hunting successful? This question haunts many scientists, and a lot of research was done to answer this question, including the visual recording of seahorse hunting, and even the creation of mathematical models that allow us to accurately calculate the algorithm of their hunting success. Few of the inhabitants of the underwater world can boast of such a high rate. And the answer is as follows: which pivots at the neck joint. The suction is so fast that even frame-by-frame filming doesn't allow you to see this. This means that the process takes not tenths, but hundredths of a second. This is where the real speed of seahorses comes into play. It requires a lot of energy, which the seahorses can accumulate in the tendons associated with the hand rotation, and then release, creating a powerful suction force. And the seahorse's elongated muzzle creates a calm zone around itself, where small crustaceans and shrimp, the main source of food, don't feel threatened and can come up very close. In this way, seahorses manage to achieve a hunting success rate of up to 90%, one of the highest hunting success rates among any predators in the world. To put this into perspective, less than half of the attacks by great white sharks, which terrify most aquatic inhabitants, end in success. Graceful yet powerful, leopards catch their prey only 74% of the time, and highly intelligent and cunning orcas hunt seals, dolphins, and little canoes. Seahorses' hunting success is not a whim of nature, but a basic survival need, because they don't need a teeth, nor a stomach, or a particular organ. A special gland similar to the mammalian pancreas secretes digestive enzymes directly into the intestines, allowing food to be broken down as it passes through the body. Due to the absence of a stomach, this process occurs much faster than in other animals and fish. So the seahorse has to eat almost continuously and be an excellent hunter. Adult seahorses eat 30 to 50 times a day, and in some cases, the number of meals can be several hundred times. But if you decide to watch these amazing creatures on your own, remember that seahorses don't tolerate fish tanks because they are prone to stress. Once in an unfamiliar environment, they constantly feel frightened and nervous and often refuse to eat, eventually dying of hunger and nervous exhaustion. For example, shaking and rocking will almost certainly kill you if you decide to transfer a vessel of seahorses by a car or a ship. In total, there are about 50 species of seahorses in the world, but 30 of them are on the verge of extinction. The greatest danger for them is people. They're actively caught for souvenirs because of their unusual appearance. According to official statistics, only in China, 20 million of these unusual fish are caught annually. And this is not counting the massive cases of poaching that aren't taken into account. The depths of the world's oceans hide many secrets and wonders. Incredible monstrous creatures, and perhaps those creatures that we don't even know about yet. The seahorse living in shallow water has been well studied by scientists. That is why it is so delightful, demonstrating nature's incredible ability to create strange, yet almost perfect beings, combining seemingly incompatible things into one. A horse's head and a kangaroo's pouch, gills, and a bizarre look. They take off with no run and rush to the target, following all the movement through mad flight. A tracking system with thousands of the most advanced optical devices helps to accurately determine the desired coordinates. Nothing can prevent these almost flawless assassins from attacking. What is this? Some kind of new super weapon? Or creatures from a fantasy thriller born to conquer a planet? No, we're talking about well-known regular dragonflies. It's a beauty. In fact, these few flying creatures are one of the most ferocious and successful predators on Earth. Even the names of dragonfly species often reflect their aggressive nature. For example, there are broad-bodied hunters and four-spotted hunters. The prey chased by a dragonfly is most likely doomed. Their hunting success rate is almost 100%, while in lions, this figure reaches only 25%. In wolves, 14%, and in bears, 10%. Do you know how dragonflies manage to excel at killing? This is an absolutely incredible story. The insect's body structure and life cycle are so unusual that they could well have come from another planet. And even though dragonflies have a terrestrial origin, their world is simply mesmerizing. Let's dive into this world together and learn more about these amazing creatures. Cute and terrible, graceful and armed from head to tail. So familiar, yet so unknown. How did dragonflies survive the dinosaurs? What were they giants the size of a hog? And who turned dragonflies into the most advanced super drones? Scientists discovered the first fossil dragonflies in the deposits of the Carboniferous period, which took place 325 million years ago. It was the last in the Paleozoic era. It was warm and humid throughout the world. Many lakes, rivers, swamps, and other small reservoirs have formed on its. And the first animals also often resembled monsters with horrors. Giant Meganeura-Morphe dragonflies flew among them. This monster's wingspan was 70 centimeters, 27.5 inches long. These huge creatures are even listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the largest prehistoric insect. The predecessors of our cute modern dragons' spiky legs. Why were they real giants? Most likely due to an excess of oxygen in the atmosphere. Where will you go in the V6 powered Nissan Frontier? You're obviously coming. That was this big. Soon they had to face real monsters. Dinosaurs emerged on the planet and captured land, air, and water bodies over the course of millions of years. Some of the huge reptiles didn't mind hiding in some slow dragonfly. Small, carnivorous Compsognathus caught insects on the shores. Struthiopithecus lizards were considered incredibly fast predators, and most likely successfully hunted dragonflies. Huge flying pterosaurs attacked them from the sky. Can you imagine how difficult it was to survive in a cruel world of such monsters? But the dragonflies succeeded. After the dinosaurs' extinction, they continued to develop successfully. Witness the emergence of humans on the planet and improved evolution. Dragonflies have changed little since those times. However, they immeasurably increased species diversity and spread throughout the planet. Did you know that you can't find them on only one continent? In icy Antarctica, scientists know about 3,012 dragonfly species, divided into 11 families and 348 genera. So what? Has anything new happened in the world of dragonflies? No, it turns out that these are far from all the species that exist on the planet. Every year, researchers report previously unknown dragonfly species. Meanwhile, the planet had some completely unique species of these insects. Here is a gorgeous bright blue darter. It lives in and near streams, lakes, and ponds in the United States. The family includes about 40 species divided into 13 genera. Black, blue, green, and yellow. These creatures make them easy to support in the sky.
Big bag. That's it. Damn. Yo, I'm still laughing about shit.